I'll go see some of the routines. I'll go to Shishi Guru Dora. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narotamam. Devim Sarasatim Vyasam.
Saraswati Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiriet.
Tato Jayamudhirayet.
Nashtapresha Vadreshu.
Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu.
Jam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavad Gita Shloke. Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna. We will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 33. This chapter is entitled The First Step in God Realization. Everyone has the book open, the text. Nadyosa, Nadyo Tatanuruhani,
Senadyo Tatanurani.
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nifendra,
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nifendra.
Anantavirya Swasitam Matirshva,
Anantavirya Swasitam Matishva.
Gatirvaya Karma Gunaprabha,
Gatirvaya Karpatula Prabha.
Nidyosya Nadyo Tatanuruhani,
Gatyosyanyo Tatanuruhani.
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra,
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra.
Anantavirya Swasitam Matirshva,
Anantavirya Swasitam Matishva.
Gatirvaya Karma Gunaprabha,
Gatirvaya Karma Guna Prabha.
Nidyosya Nadyo Tatanuruhani, Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra,
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra.
Anantavirya Swasitam Matirshva,
Anantavirya Swasitam Matishva.
Gatirvaya Karma Gunaprabha,
Gatirvaya Karma Guna Prabha. Senadyo Tatanurupani. Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra. Anantavirya Swasitam Matishva. Gatirvaya Karma Guna Prabha.
Nadyo Sanadyo Tananuruhani.
Nadyo Sanadyo Tatanuruhani.
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra.
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra.
Yantavirya Swasitam Matarishva.
Anantavirya Swasitam Matishva.
Gatirvaya Karma Guna Prabha.
Gatirvaya Karma Guna Prabha.
Nadyo Sanadyo Tanuruhani.
Nadyo Sanadyo Tatanuruhani.
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra.
Mahiruha Vishvatanur Nipendra.
Anantavirya Swasitam Matishva.
Anantavirya Swasitam Matishva.
Gatirvaya Karma Guna Prabha.
Gatirvaya Karma Guna Prabha.
Nadya,
Nadya,
the rivers,
the rivers.
Asya,
Asya,
of him,
of him.
Nadya,
Nadya,
veins,
veins.
Ata,
Tata,
and thereafter.
and hereafter.
Tanu,
Tanu,
Ruhani,
Ruhan,
hairs on the body.
hairs on the body.
Mahi,
Mahi,
Ruha,
Ruha,
the plants and trees.
plants and trees.
Vishva,
Vishnu,
Tano,
Tanu,
of the universal form.
of the universal form.
Nripa,
Rupa,
Indra,
Indra,
O king.
O king.
Ananta,
Ananta,
Virya,
Virya,
say forward, of the omnipotent.
of the omnipotent.
Swasitam,
Swasitam,
breathing.
breathing.
Materishva,
Matarishwa,
air.
air.
Gati,
Gati,
movement.
movement.
Vaya,
Via,
passing ages.
passing ages.
Karma,
Karma,
activity.
activity.
Guna, Pravaha,
Guna, Prabhaha,
reactions of the modes of nature.
reactions to the laws of nature.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. O King, the rivers are the veins of the gigantic body, the trees are the hairs of his body, and the omnipotent air is his breath. The passing ages are his movements, and his activities are the reactions of the three modes of material nature. Purport. The personality of Godhead is not a dead stone, nor is he inactive, as is poorly thought by some schools. He moves with the progress of time, and therefore he knows all about the past and future, along with his present activities. There is nothing unknown to him. The conditioned souls are driven by the reactions of the modes of material nature, which are the activities of the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the modes of nature act under his direction only, and as such no natural functions are blind or automatic. The power behind the activities is the supervision of the Lord, and thus the Lord is never inactive as is wrongly conceived. The Vedas say that the Supreme Lord has nothing to do personally, as is always the case with superiors, but everything is done by his direction. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without his sanction. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that all the universes and the heads of them, the Brahmas, exist only for the duration of his breathing period. The same is confirmed here. The air on which the universes and the planets within the universes exist is nothing but a bit of the breath of the unchangeable Virat Purusha. So even by studying the rivers, trees, air, and passing ages, one can conceive of the personality of Godhead without being misled by the formless conception of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that those who are much inclined to the formless conception of the Supreme Truth are more troubled than those who can intelligently conceive of the personal form. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Krishna Hirvasheshirasaya Gopinath Namo Parashashilaya Prabhupada Nusaradena Dita Tasmai Shastri Pato Jodam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Mudre Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyati Veshadani Avancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sundabhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, Gurus, for attending this morning's Bhagavatam class. Senior devotees, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. This one sentence here at first bewildered me when I read in the purport. Srila Prabhupada says that the conditioned souls are driven by the reactions of the modes of material nature, which are the activities of the Lord. Yeah, but then throughout the purport we see that Srila Prabhupada is talking about Krishna's function as Paramatma, as the sanctioner. So it's not that the material activities are Krishna's activities, but he has to sanction all these activities. Because everything, as Srila Prabhupada says, it was either in this or in one of the verses he quoted. Oh no, it's here. Not a blade of grass moves without his sanction. So Krishna, he is Paramatma within all parts of the living entities and within all the atoms, it says in the Bhagavad Gita. Upadarastani mantacha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatmeti chakyukto dehismin purushapara. That within all the bodies there's the soul, but alongside the soul there's the super soul. The super soul is not just a witness, as Srila Prabhupada says here. He moves with the progress of time, and therefore he knows all about the past and future, along with his present activities. So he's not just a witness; he's Tri Kalagyan. He knows past and future and all that. But he's actually the sanctioning force. Without the factor of the Paramatma, nothing goes on. So all of our activities have to be sanctioned by Krishna. He's the guiding force. He's providing knowledge. Sarvasya chaham jeti sanivishto atasmi tirgyanamapomanam cha. Knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness as well. We'll get to that in a second, which is pretty amazing. Thank you, Krishna, for forgetfulness. But yeah, I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam in the 6th canto and the 2nd chapter. Srila Prabhupada gives an amazing analogy, which I never heard before. He says that just as the different limbs cannot see the eyes, doesn't mean that the eyes don't exist or that they don't have an important function, that they're not guiding the limbs. If the limbs could see themselves, then they could, they wouldn't need the eyes and they can just move about. But the limbs need the eyes. The eyes actually control the limbs in the sense that the eyes can see what's in front of them. The eyes can see desirable objects to touch. So the eyes are really providing the necessary information to all the limbs. So we may not be able to see God with our eyes, at least in the neophyte stage. Advanced devotee, nothing's holding you back. We may not be able to see God with our eyes, but with our intelligence we can see God. We can see the presence of God. Although the atheists want to remove the hand of the Lord from the creation. So just like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he exists just like the thread, which is holding a pearl necklace or a bracelet of any kind. And yeah, we can see that practically. We're all wearing these Tulsi necklaces, and you can't see the thread, but no one's silly enough to think that they're just sitting there on your neck. We all have some intelligence to recognize that there's a thread connecting everything together. So those who have intelligence, their intelligence is not bewildered. They can understand that something is holding this whole creation together. But unfortunately, even the intelligent class of men still deny the existence of the Lord. They intentionally or subconsciously, more so, try to forget the Lord because their desires are not aligned with remembrance of Krishna. They want to enjoy this world, and therefore Krishna allows them to be bewildered. He actually sanctions their forgetfulness. Ham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita mudho yona vijanati lokam mam ajam avyayam. Mudho, if they're foolish and unintelligent and they deny Krishna, they want to forget Krishna. Krishna sanctions that, so he covers them over with his illusory potency. So Krishna is very kind. He's satisfying all of our desires. And these are atheists, or just the people in general. Everyone, if you're in this material world, you want to forget God to some extent. And we're trying to undo that mess we've got ourselves in. But even people who are, so-called religious, they know something about God. Even they want to reduce God's omnipotence. They want to reduce his qualities. We see in different traditions, no one has conception of God as personal as we do. We're really, really, really ahead of the game. The most personal you can get is maybe Christianity. They understand that God can come in the flesh and have a form, and it's not like blasphemous and like that. But they don't know anything about the activities of God in the spiritual world, and that he can have innumerable forms. So have they really understood the personality of God? Not entirely. And in the Muslim tradition as well, that one's a little more like hardcore. If you ascribe any like form to God, They think that's completely blasphemous. But they don't understand we're not ascribing a form to God. God is revealing his form to us. So why is this happening? Why are people who are supposedly trying to know God and love him, they're putting a limit on his qualities? And certainly it's out of some sort of envy for God. That if one hasn't eradicated envy completely from their heart, then they think, oh yeah, well God doesn't have a body, but I can have a body. So they want to be able to have something over God, even if it's just a little something. So whether it's their form or some sort of quality or attribute like that. But yeah, this is understandable. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, says, Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yat jnanam advayam brahmati paramatmati bhagavani tishabdite. That different transcendentalists, different people who know God, they have different levels of understanding God. Although it's the same God we're talking about, we tell this to, people on book distribution. If we meet someone from a different faith and we try to, have a little interfaith dialogue, we try to tell them, no, we're talking about the same person, albeit some of our definitions of that person vary, but it's clear we're all trying to connect with the absolute truth, our original divine creator. So yeah, people, they have different levels of their perception of God. And this is according to their level of surrender. That according to how much we submit ourselves to Krishna and play by his rules and not just our own and what we think God should be, then he will reciprocate with us in many ways. But one of those ways is knowledge. He'll help us understand more about who he is. So it's on that basis of surrender, and therefore we see different traditions throughout the world. And although they have a similar objective, they're different schools, they're different levels of education. And again, some people will say, well, they all contradict each other, so how can they all be correct? But it's just like different schools of mathematics. In basic arithmetic, you're just adding, subtracting, and dividing when you're in like elementary school. And when you do that, they tell you that you can't subtract big numbers from small numbers because there's not enough substance in the small numbers to take something more from it. So you're not allowed to do that. Except when you go to like middle school, then you learn about algebra, and actually you can do that, and you're supposed to be doing that like all the time. They're called negative numbers, and you don't, tell people who are just learning basic math that they're wrong and they don't know what they're doing and anything like that. You understand they're on the path and actually still accept that part of basic arithmetic. You incorporate it within algebra. But some of the rules may be, slightly adjusted for a higher level of realization, a higher level of knowledge. So that's the same thing. We feel that we know for a fact that the Vedic literature provides perfect knowledge of Krishna, and it provides the supreme science of understanding God. The most information available to human beings is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the spotless literature, and the Bhagavad Gita, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where one can even, again, see the pastimes of God. The form of God is revealed, and see what does God look like. It's pretty mind-blowing, and it may be a tough pill to swallow for those, of course, again, who haven't come to a proper relationship or attitude with Krishna. And then there's people who, they're not necessarily religious, but they may be a little spiritual. We meet a lot of kind of like new age spiritual people, and they say like, yeah, I believe in like a higher power, I like, the universe, I'm very grateful for the universe. The universe has brought me to you. But even that, it's almost like they can't hear what they're saying, because if they're saying, I'm grateful for the universe, it's implying that the universe has intentions. The universe has some sort of like, wants to do something good for them. But if the universe is just dull matter, how could there be intentions? So even subconsciously, people know that there's a hand behind nature, that the presence of God is there actually controlling things, But maybe due to their bad experience with the religion or just the lack of knowledge, they, again, they're covering God to more or lesser degrees, some people say. Yeah, the universe. But as Srila Prabhupada says here in purport, yeah, that even by studying the rivers, trees, air, and passing ages, one can conceive of the personality of Godhead without being misled by the formless conception of the Lord. So what I kind of understood from this is that, even just seeing God in his Virat Rupa as, the whole universe, but having some sort of appreciating factor is better than the impersonal conception of a voidless, formless God that you want to merge into. This is still better. Because again, for those who at least they have some appreciation for a higher power. Oh, yes, I appreciate the universe. And then if they start to, you know, develop a little more and they think, well, if I do feel gratitude, how can I reciprocate? How can I have How can I like reciprocate that with like a, just like a impersonal, yeah, just with like a universe, like a stone. So then, due to their sincerity, Krishna may bring them along the path to something more personal, something where they realize that God is in their hearts. They can pray to God. They can communicate with God. Yeah, even people they're praying uh, to uh, to the universe. And then there's people who deny God's existence altogether. They say that everything that we see ultimately comes from nothing. That there was as Srila Prabhupada says, there was a chunk, and then that chunk blew up, and then all those things smashed together, and now we have people and trees and 7-Eleven and politics and diseases and war and TikTok, apparently all because of a bunch of chemicals and elements smashing together and a lot of heat. So yeah, theists are often criticized that what you guys believe is absolutely crazy. You know, you believe that this whole thing, there's like a person behind it, like running the show, and yeah, we feel like it's definitely the least crazy out of the two options. There's pretty much two options, either this whole universe is created and maintained by someone you can't see, uh, again, for the general mass of people. You can't see, you can't touch, you can't sense or perceive. It's either that, someone you can't prove that exists, or it came from nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, yeah, the first one may seem a little fantastic, but the second one is absolutely bonkers. It's absolutely ridiculous, you know. And then to say that, consciousness is just an emergent property of these things and it's not actually real and we're just, yeah, simply just a bag of chemicals and blood and stool and all these things. Uh, that's also crazy too. That's completely fantastic. That's completely mystical. People think that we believe is absolutely insane that the planets are being lifted by the Supreme Lord and all these amazing things we read in the Shastras. But I mean, what, a bunch of chemicals fighting each other and feeling love and pain and all these things? Like, come on, that sounds like folklore. That sounds like the scarecrow has come to life. It makes uh not more sense than definitely, what we're proposing. Uh, yeah, but actually, all these people, they're inherently God conscious. Um, but just to the extent that they're not aligned with devotional service, which is the eternal nature of the soul. Jivera Srupavoy, Krishnera Nityadas. It's not an artificial imposition that we're trying to put on to people. It's their natural position. To the extent that they're misaligned with that due to lust, due to sense gratification, material desires, which are antithetical to spiritual desires, uh, to that extent, their knowledge will be covered. But again, this is we're not a victim. We're not a victim of ignorance. We're not a victim of Maya. We've put ourselves in this position because we have rejected the relationship with God. We want to forget God because it absolves us of any responsibility to a relationship, because relationships are hard. And when we look at the relationships in this material world, having another one seems like a big burden. No, especially if not all of the material relationships we have some sort of downside, have some sort of factor which feels incomplete and fails to satisfy us. So we think, oh God, just another person who's going to disappoint us, another person who's not going to be able to reciprocate with us properly. And therefore, why do I want a relationship with God? I can just live happily. I can just be a good person. I don't need God. Uh, but that's why we need to educate them in what is that relationship. You know, who is this person that they're hiding from? Uh, he's certainly not some monster who's going to banish you to hell for eternity. Maybe that's why some people are afraid of God. Again, it's not the Christian's fault either, because yeah, their preaching is horrible. That God's like this like envious, spiteful person. But at the end of the day, people aren't accepting God because of their own qualities. No, it's uh, if they want to forget God, then yeah, they will come in contact with a Christian preacher who's going to scare them away from God. It's chicken or the egg. It's not that the Christians scared them from God. Actually, they didn't want to be with God in the first place. And then they come in contact with such people who just affirm their fears. You know, because again, Krishna, he's reciprocating with our desires. He's not going to scare us away if we don't want to be scared away. You know, but if we want to forget him, then yeah, maybe we'll find some people who confirm that our definition of God is, yep, I was right. I found some people who like follow God and they're total nut jobs, and I definitely wouldn't want to follow such a psychopath who burns people in hell forever, or there's horrible things happening to good people, and so people struggle with the problem of theodicy. That like, why are bad things happening to good people? It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. How can breaks the definition of God being a benevolent person? But that's because they don't have the most basic information there in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that we're not these bodies, that there's karma, and that there's reincarnation. And therefore our activities and the results of our activities are a multiple life game. You know. And so yeah, bad things are happening to us now. People are born in different situations, but it's because of our previous karma. And I think everyone would agree that justice should be served, even if one is ignorant to their crime. If someone is intoxicated and they perform a hit and run, they kill someone, or they're intoxicated and then they get home, they knock out, they didn't even know they killed anyone. Then they get arrested, they go to court. Oh, but sir, I didn't, I was intoxicated. I didn't know that I killed someone. It doesn't mean that they're innocent, and I don't think any sane person would let them go free. So just because, yeah, we don't. Oh, but I don't remember my last lives. How is that fair? Uh, you know, uh, that's not fair either. Or if you change your identity, just because someone goes and they hide and they change their identity, doesn't mean they should get a second shot either. So I think everyone understands that, yeah, we have these different lives, but we still have to suffer the reactions of our sinful activities in all past lives. So thankfully, the Bhagavad Gita restores this definition of God, that uh, he is benevolent, that he is not the cause of our suffering, and he's not the cause of injustice in this world, but he simply, through the agency of the external energy, dishes out our reactions in a very, mechanical way almost. Srila Prabhupada's saying uh, he's, he's doing all these things, but he's directing it. He's more or less aloof. But yeah, so we have to educate them, this person that they're hiding from, because yeah, he's definitely not a monster. He's not just some old guy. They conceive God to be old because he's the oldest person, so they draw him up with a beard and everything. Um, but he's not just some old cranky monster wagging his finger and sending like lightning bolts at people. He's Krishna. I mean, Krishna's like the furthest thing from that. He's a sweet cowherd boy. He's beautiful and he plays a flute. I mean, come on, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, Krishna, he's far different from a stone, uh, and he's a person, and he's a transcendental person. And yeah, even many theists, they can't accept this because again, even the theists, they have some they still have some control that they don't want to relinquish. They have some quality, they have something that they want to be theirs, but they don't want to be God's. And therefore they have to reduce him. So yeah, even the theists, they can't wrap their head around this idea of Krishna, unless they really develop deep sincerity, then anything's possible. Uh, uh, yeah, and yeah, Srila Prabhupada is saying here that this idea of Krishna, it's the only thing that makes sense because I don't know, I think I had to write it down here. It's not verbatim, but uh, yeah, although everything works under his direction, he's aloof because God is the Purusha. He's the enjoyer. He's not just he's not just a judge. He's not just maintaining everything. He's not like hard at work, laboring to maintain the universe. You know, all these universes, one universe is just like a mustard seed on the head, not the shesh. So it's nothing for him. So he's more or less aloof because his job is to enjoy. Everything of the absolute is for the absolute. So everything is simply for the enjoyment of Krishna, which is really the big thing that people don't want to accept. That God is the enjoyer. No. Um, but we don't say enjoyment is unnatural. We also enjoy, but we're indirect enjoyers. First God enjoys, and then automatically, we're part of the whole. We're the energy of God. Therefore, we enjoy too. But yeah, this form of Krishna, this concept of this beautiful conception of the supreme personality of Godhead, who has name, form, activities, pastimes, all these things. It's the most fitting because we understand that God is meant for enjoyment, and therefore all these things facilitate enjoyment. You have a body, God has a body, because with a body you can dance. You can eat beautiful food that your devotees make for you. You can wear beautiful garlands and clothes that your devotees dress you with. You can play and wrestle with cowherd boys. It's completely amazing. Why would God just be a ball of light? So yeah, our process is totally ecstatic. It's pretty. It's definitely the best thing uh, because we just get to always be absorbed in the supreme personality of Godhead, in his nama, his rupa, and his leelas, because all these things are non-different from him, and his pastimes are non-different from him. And we have these books which tell you not even just pastimes of when God appears on earth, which may not uh, I mean it's much vaster, but not entirely exclusive. Again, the Christian philosophy, God comes and then he has activities here on earth. So they have some pastimes that they can meditate on. But Christian's pastimes are definitely more exciting. But even there's pastimes which, he hasn't uh, shown on earth, but they're revealed, by the acharyas that are happening either in different creations or in the spiritual world. So we have books that just describe the activities of God that we can just like always meditate on. They become revealed in our heart as true as we develop our faith. Also in the form of the Lord in our temples, the Archavigraha form of the Lord, which is a bona fide way to worship God. Because the Archavigraha form is not idol worship. Srila Prabhupada says this is not idol worship. Because what does that mean? Idol worship means there's the place of God. There's his pedestal, his altar, the altar of God, and you're putting something else there. You're putting politicians, you're putting celebrities, you're putting whoever, rock stars, anyone. People they themselves these days, that's pretty much the main idol that people worship. They have Instagram, they create a whole persona for themselves, and they say, oh, this is I'm this great person, I'm very handsome and very successful, and I have so many great friends, and in reality, they're not like that. But they're putting themselves on a pedestal so they get likes and appreciation, and hopefully maybe they can appreciate themselves. Usually the opposite happens. They become more depressed, insecure. So yeah, people are performing idol worship. in this world. And even our scriptures, they say the same thing. Don't perform idol worship. Don't put anyone on a pedestal which doesn't belong there. But again, this form of the Lord, it's not concocted by man, and it's not something ascribed. It's something revealed to us through Shastra, through the perfect way of getting knowledge, through Shabda Praman. And therefore, Krishna and his form, they're non-different. So when we go into the temple and we see the form of Krishna, we can dress him, we can dance before him, chant his glories before him, we can offer him foodstuffs. And this is actually preparing us for our eternal spiritual life in the spiritual world, where we're there with the personality of Godhead. Because Krishna consciousness means developing our God consciousness now. It's not about post-dated checks that, you join the Krishna conscious movement and then later, then you find out that, yeah, God is real and then you go to heaven and Goloka is a real place. No, now in this body, we're supposed to become God conscious, develop the consciousness, which is similar to those in the spiritual world, so we can assimilate properly. And therefore, everything we're doing now is just preparing us for that life. And also the name of the Lord, this is something that you find in all traditions, but here in the Krishna conscious movement, we emphasize the name of the Lord like anything, because through chanting the holy names of the Lord, the personality of God can be revealed in one's heart, and they can realize that God is present in his holy names, and that God is ultimately a person. So yeah, I'll try to wrap it up. And yeah, that's our primary method of devotional service, but there's many other methods, but it's all based off of Tesham Satatayuktanam, Vajatam Pratipurvam, Dadami Yoga, Dami Yudi Yogam Tam, Yenamamupiyantite. I think I messed up one word in there somewhere. Yogam Tam, Yenamamupiyantite. Thank you. So yeah, it's all based off devotional service. We want to serve God, and by doing that, we can properly know God. And many people, they don't seem like they have this idea of service. They just want to go to heaven. That's basically mukti. They just want mukti. They just want liberation, to be free from suffering. But even the devotees, they're free from suffering now. So the devotees, they're Narayana Parayana, Narayana Para Sarve Nakutas Vivyati, Swarga Pavarga Nadakeshvapi Turyarshiv Darshina. That the devotees, they don't care whether they're in heaven or hell. Their only fear is to be separated from devotional service. That's all they want. They don't really care where they are. They're completely satisfied just performing devotional service. So that's our heaven, being the association of devotees and performing devotional service to them. And then lastly, I'll just say one excerpt from this verse that Srila Prabhupada quoted from Bhagavad Gita that says those who are following the impersonal path of the jnanis, it's very difficult to understand God. But those who are bhaktas, it's very simple. So Srila Prabhupada says, for a devotee, there's no difficulty in approaching the Supreme immediately and directly. But for those who are following the impersonal way to spiritual realization, the path is extremely difficult because they're relying on their mind and their senses, which are part of this material world, and they're finite. But we rely on the descending process. God is revealing himself to us. So even if you don't know if there's a God, if you don't know if there's a God behind the creation, then be brave enough to perform the experiment. That, okay, I don't know if there's a God, but if I say there definitely isn't a God and just become an atheist, then it's saying that you're omniscient, that you know everything. You've scoured the whole universe. You're saying I'm God by saying there absolutely is no God. So if one really is open-minded, they perform the experiment of chanting Hare Krishna, of Tesham Satata Yuktanam, because if there is a God, and he's a person, then he doesn't respond to, God, show me yourself. Oh, he didn't show me himself. I guess he doesn't exist. If God's a person, then he responds in a particular way. We have to approach him on his terms only. And those terms are devotional service and chanting his holy names. And if we do that, he'll reveal himself to us. But if we're not willing to perform the experiment, then we shouldn't be surprised, if we are convinced there's no God and if God hasn't revealed himself to us. So Krishna consciousness is scientific. We have to engage people in chanting the holy names and devotional service. We can preach to them philosophy all we want, but somehow or other we have to engage them in some sort of practical devotional service. So I'll end the class there. Hare Krishna. I think I went a little over time. Please forgive me. Any comments, questions, corrections? Vijay Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
You mentioned that Krishna's in his name. In Vrindavan,
the devotees in the past, Prabhupada was in the audience listening to the person.
Oh, Krishna.
Decide to imagine that.
I would like, I would drop dead.
So the speaker, he said, Krishna's in his name. And Prabhupada said to him, where in Krishna's name is Krishna? So Prabhupada said, Krishna's not in his name. Krishna is his name.
Wow.
Non-different.
Wow.
So,
Wow. That's nice. Oh, I'm gonna hold on to that one. Yeah, Krishna is his name.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
That reminds us.
Yeah.
In the verse, it says, and the omnipotent air is his breath. I didn't get that.
Hmm.
Why is the air described as omnipotent?
Oh, let's see the word used. It might be referring to like sky, as in like just the.
Omnipresent?
Yeah. Oh, yes, it's omnipotent. Oh, yeah, I thought it would have said omniscient. The omnipotent air. Yeah, I actually couldn't say. Maybe Suvarna Bindu Peru can enlighten us. The air is omnipotent.
Virya is translated as powerful. I mean, this is
Oh, what word?
Virya.
Virya. Oh, yeah, virya means like, yeah, strength, power.
And Antavirya means unlimited strength, so that's omnipotent.
Strong air is his breath. Yeah.
The air has kind of big potential because you can see when the hurricane is there. The water has limits, but then there is some storm. The air practically you have to go under earth.
Mm.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah. And of the more like gross elements, it is one of the most subtle ones, which all the other elements spring from. So it does have kind of, in like, if you were to describe the hierarchy, it's one of the stronger ones. But yeah, I think that's a good point. That
Yeah.
at least if you just see like that, yeah, air is also purifying.
It says it's omnipotent means it's unlimited power.
Yeah.
So air, Viva,
Yeah.
Vayu,
Yeah.
very powerful.
Very powerful. Not omnipotent in the same way that Krishna is omnipotent, but omnipotent in terms of extremely powerful,
Yeah.
like you were saying. Okay, good enough. Thank you.
But under his control, anything's omnipotent. Lord Balaram killed someone with a blade of grass.
Right.
So even something completely insignificant can become all powerful in the hands of Krishna. That's
Thank you for joining this class. Especially like people have this conception of the universe,
yeah.
arranging things in my life. Like they don't realize that actually they're talking about some conscious being.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just call it the universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I have a question. Like, let's say I'm, like the typical like atheistic, like non-believer,
Atheist or agnostic?
agnostic, sure.
Right.
And so I'll say that
Thank you.
when human beings don't know the answer to something, some mystery in the universe, they might make up some story or some explanation.
Yeah.
And then in so many traditions we have so much fairy tales, folklore, mythology. So how do I know that the Bible, the Vedas also don't? How do they not fall into that category?
Yeah, definitely. Well, unlike say modern archaeology, they give a certain time frame, a certain painting, a certain picture of the past based on a few things that they found, and then they are able to paint this whole picture. But you see that's changing all the time. The process of verification is it's material. Like for example, they thought like modern human civilization was like 6,000 years old, something like that. Then in the 80s or 90s in Turkey, they found Göbekli Tepe, and that doubled the history of again, it's still far off from the Vedic conception, but we'll just play with their example. That doubled the history of the human race. Uh, yeah, it doubled it. So then it was like, oh, actually, modern, human civilization, meaning structure, society, agriculture. Now it's actually 12,000 years old, just by one discovery, one small site in a hill in Turkey. You know, so their stories are always changing. So how could you put faith in that? Whereas like our stories, which are actually histories, they stay the same, and we have pastimes which accompany philosophy, but the philosophical elements can be tested. The Vedic literature, it comes with litmus tests. It's like here's the product, and then here's uh, it comes with something to test it to make sure your product is of good quality. So again, yeah, we can preach to people on the level of jnana for a long time to maybe inspire them. But what are we trying to inspire them to do? We're trying to inspire them to perform some devotional service. Because ultimately, if they just are speculating, even if intellectually we meet so many people on book distribution. Oh yeah, you see this picture? You're not in the body. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you're not the body. They don't walk away after that and think, okay, well now I guess I'm not the body. Now I've got to change my whole world on that. Because they haven't realized the knowledge. It's simply just knowledge. Uh, so to realize knowledge, uh, we have the processes of, uh, you apply the knowledge, but specifically in regards to transcendental knowledge regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yeah, we have to serve Him. We have to use the knowledge, and therefore Tesam Satatayutana. We perform devotional service, and then we find out its validity. Like if you have a map and it says you are here, you want to go there. There's all these different landmarks. Turn left, turn right. There's an ice cream shop. There's this, there's that. Your phone's dead, so it's your only option. It's like, oh, hey, how do I get to Palo Alto from here? And someone gives you a map. Okay, this weird guy has a map. Anyways, you take the map, and it's your only option. All right, I guess I'll just use this map. It's just like that's all I got. So you use the map, and there's no map maker, so you don't know its authenticity, but you use it, and you go down the street, and it said, yeah, you'll go here. There's a stop sign. There's an ice cream shop, and then you turn right, and you go down, and there's Ralph, and then you turn left, and then there's another stop sign, and then there's a liquor store, and then you turn right, and you start using the map, and you see, oh, well, I got here. That was right. I got here. Okay, there is this place that does exist. Oh, okay, I got here. Yeah, the liquor store is there. And then even if you're not at Palo Alto yet, you're like, okay, might as well keep following the map because like so far everything is correct. Uh, so yeah, that's why like people who just they don't want to actually put some skin in the game. They don't want to actually do anything, but they just want to stay on the platform of Jnana. They'll never go anywhere actually. And they'll just be even like in the verse that Srila Prabhupada quotes, those who are jnanis, Srila Prabhupada says ultimately they get to the same goal. You know, but it's understood from other places where Srila Prabhupada describes still you have to have bhakti. Like even if you elevate yourself through like jnana, yeah, you may be able to get to the goal. What is it? Bahunam janmanamante, Gervam mam prapadyate, Vasudeva samamiti samatma sagarva. After many, many births, one who is in knowledge, after many births of being a jnani, and one finally surrenders unto Krishna, and worships him. So yeah, we're not. There's no way to cent% convince someone just through, logic and intellect. That's why this Krishna conscious movement, which is a good thing actually, because most people they're not very scholarly, they're not very intellectual. But I think anyone can wash a pot, anyone can chant a little Hare Krishna, anyone can take prasadam. So this is our process for proving to people. Uh, and again, if one thing proves to be true, you chant the holy names, you feel Krishna's presence, and so many other things are like, you get deep realization. Yeah, maybe you read the fifth canto and you're like, okay, this is like totally crazy, but everything else is absolutely true. So like, yeah, why not? I'm a spirit soul. Like, and again, what's crazier, that we're like conscious spirit souls, or we're a bunch of chemicals that somehow learned how to talk. And again, it's just like it's crazy. Uh, so yeah, the modern scientists and the atheists, they propose so many things, but they don't give you a process for realizing it or checking it. They just are really good at word jugglery. And again, they play into our innate desire to, or our unnatural innate desire to forget God. Yeah. So ultimately, if we want to forget God, we'll forget God, no matter how good someone is at convincing us. We want to forget God, there's no chance. What's that thing? Vaisheshika Prabhu always says, you can't wake a man who's pretending to sleep, isn't it? You can't wake up someone who's pretending to be sleeping. So someone they're they want to stay in ignorance. But if they have the heart, the sincerity, again, all these things, intelligence, all these qualities, there's so many people with intelligence, but look how they're using it. They're just using it basically for sex life, to build all these things to impress, to get sex life, some sort of sense gratification. They're wasting their intelligence. But if someone has sincerity, a little bit of humility, they can be submissive, that's a much more rare and valuable quality. So, yeah, you got to somehow engage people in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you.
Yes, you've only been here for a room. Now the sauce is coming.
No, I'll just I remember Prabhupada said in Kirtan, in the purport about air. Oh, air is power.
Oh, wow, you found it.
So I just wanted to add to that. Excuse me.
Yes, no, please submit to evidence.
So this is fifth canto,
5th canto.
23rd chapter. So verse number 3, which means 5:23, 3.
5:23, 3. You get some wireless ones.
I
You have just one for the audience, and then
No, I
it's
think this is enough.
like $70.
Prabhupada says the question of how the planets and stars are floating is also answered in this verse. It is not because of the laws of gravity.
Hmm.
Rather, the planets and stars are enabled to float by manipulations of the air. It is due to such manipulations that big heavy clouds float and big eagles fly in the sky. Modern airplanes like the 747 jet aircraft work in a similar way by controlling the air. They float high in the sky, resisting the tendency to fall to earth. Such adjustments of the air are all made possible by the cooperation of the principles of Purusha, by the cooperation of material nature, which is considered to be Prakriti, and the spirit personality of Godhead, who is considered Purusha. All the affairs of the universe are going on nicely in the proper order.
Yeah, I just read that recently, actually.
Not gravity,
Yeah, not gravity.
manipulation of air.
Yeah.
That's how I say it.
Fantastic. Okay, Jai, thank you everyone for your kind attention.